Oh, hey everybody. How are you doing? I just got into my live stream program and just set it up so that we can do some stuff on a weekly basis. This is how cool this is gonna be. So I hope you folks are having a fantastic time. It's about 7 p.m. here and close to dinner time for me. But I just wanted to drop by and let you know that I am going to stream every week on Fridays. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna talk about very random stuff that we're gonna cover things I already do, usually. There's gonna be news updates. I'm gonna do this probably at 6 p.m. Central European time. Hey, Daniela. Hello. Hello. Hello there. So this is gonna be a fantastic, super quick introduction because right now it's live, but it's gonna become a video afterwards. So you have time to settle down and just, maybe probably join me on Friday. I've been doing these live streams in the past, but I had stopped because I had other things to do and it wasn't quite picking up the way I wanted. And I kind of took the time to do it. The time that would have been assigned to the live streams, I wanted to do just recording videos because it was way more productive. But I would say in the last 3 months, people had been asking me about doing live streams again. I know they're very popular, they're very huge. People do it on Instagram, on Facebook, LinkedIn. I don't have any of that. I mean, I do, but I don't use them. I'm horrible at it. But I do have YouTube. As you know, there's videos here. I have my Patreon, which has been going since now. It's probably the third or fourth. It's probably the third year, not the fourth, although it feels like it's the fourth one, but it should be the third one. But, well, no, actually, no. Well, the Patreon, okay, yes, it's 3 years, the third one. But I am I have been doing these live session parts since the dreaded 2020 lockdowns. So it's the 4th year, actually, that I'm streaming things. So Daniela asked, are you in Frankfurt, Maine? I am near Munich, actually. I'm in between Munich and Mühldorf. It's in there, between. And in the countryside, far from society. And no, it's not true. I got society here. Got family society. That's true. So I'm going to do Friday, 6 p.m. Central European time. I am very unsure whether I should do 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. because it's kind of dinner time, after dinner time. We'll see. But the first one I'm going to do is going to be 6 p.m. Honestly, I would prefer 6 p.m. because it's just, leading into dinner and then I do it a couple hours tops. Then we go have dinner. But some people might not join. And other times, scheduling things have been particularly weird. You gotta be super precise, and I am like all over the place. I don't do a lot of stuff. But what are we gonna do in these streams? I have no idea. They're gonna be hopefully depending on what people in my Patreon just, join and ask me to. So if you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out because it's kind of cool. I get tons of discounts. So if you buy plugins, there's probably gonna be 3-4 brands that you have bought plugins in the last month that you didn't have an educational discount for, which is oftentimes 50% easy. So joining my Patreon is practically free, because you're getting more money from the discounts than you are paying my Patreon for. So, I know some people join just for the discounts, but then they stay for the content. So it's kind of cool, I can say that. And Daniela says, just a question. Did you ever mix with a Fairlight Evo console? No. I have a good friend that I haven't seen in a while, who's a huge fan of it, co-owned one. I'm not sure he has it any longer, or maybe yes, but he co-owned one with a friend of mine. And they're both friends. One I've just met through the other guy, and he swears by it. He loves it. Absolutely. Would I be? Of course. I'm not that much of a mixing kind of guy. See, that's the kind of cool thing we do in streams. People ask stuff and I just answer. But, and if they don't ask, I'm just going to play stuff. Who cares? Or maybe we're going to mix things. Or maybe we're going to talk about, music that I'm making. I got this album that I'm working on, which it's not ready yet, but I'm going there. I haven't been a huge fan of mixing with consoles. So we should kind of differentiate the mixing, like me as a mixing engineer or me as a recording, mixing, mastering engineer. I'm not a mastering engineer, but I've been asked to master way more than I would have wanted. So I've done that as well. Or when I compose and mix, So we should kind of blend the two things. And if I, like this setup I have right now is what I like to have as a composer, also as a mixing engineer, as a composer, because when you see me here standing, this is a Sterling Modular Plan D desk, and it's supposed to be a mastering desk, which I use to mix and master. I have analog gear here, as you see. I have analog gear here on this other side. I have keys all around, and my speakers are behind you, sort of. You're in an angle behind you, and they're over, I think, 1.68 meters, 70. I think it's about 2 meters from my sweet spot, maybe more from the desk. So because they're floor standers, they're like Bowers and Wilkins, huge floor standers. They have a very wide sweet spot. So I can play my Prophet here, the 12, the Nord lead, and it's kind of in a bundle here. So when I do this, if I had a console, it would be hindering my movements. Well, no, it depends, right? But acoustically, it's kind of the best situation to have a desk like this because they have a lower impact on acoustics in the room. They don't rattle, they don't, have weird harmonics and build up when the speakers shoot into them. So I kind of like this. I've always liked this setup. I had Argosy desks before, these Sterling Modular. The Versarax here are Sterling as well, where I have my gear around me, and it works. I've had control surfaces, but I haven't gelled with them that much. I'm a huge mouse and keyboard person. I don't know how or why. Maybe because as a kid I was already, using mouse and keyboard. I don't know. But what I like to do is I definitely like hardware stuff, although I don't find it extremely convenient all of the time, but I like hardware and I definitely use my hands on instruments, that's for sure. So, move filters, all the synthesizers that have knobs, absolutely, I love that. But for mixing, I love the feeling, the tactile feeling that you have when you obviously touch it. Console and the channel strips and stuff, but there's always X amount of movements that I have to do on the mouse, whether it's because it's a plugin, whether it's an edit that I have to do, and because I cannot remove the mouse and keyboard from the equation, and I have always to go to the keyboard and mouse, I find that these things they occupy more than I'm actually using them for. Does it make any sense? So I like to have my keyboard here, my FRAC tube or my bass station, the gear that I kind of have on my mix bus the most. So the Fuse EQ, the Weiss, the Pass EQ here, my master console, the Rock Rupel compressor, things that are more mix bus oriented. Here I have my Waves L2 hardware, which a lot of you hate, I know. I have a hardware unit, which is actually acting up. I should kind of open it up and fix it. My summing, my bass compressors, all that stuff. But, Daniela says, I have no place for the next 2-3 years, so I don't sell it, but I can give intermediate in good hands. If I hear anyone, well, it's kind of, if I hear anyone, I'll be in touch. But lately, all the people that I kind of know, like students I have as well, they are reducing their form factor in the studio. We know that, right? A lot. I remember when talking with distributors or people who work in the loudspeaker industry, for example, I remember how clear it was when they said that a speaker that is medium-sized for us in Europe is already in the large area, in the large understanding of things for Japan, because real estate space is very scarce, very expensive. So, for example, a 5-inch woofer for a loudspeaker is considered small, and in Japan it's already kind of medium-sized. And a 6.5 is already like you're splurging into like a bigger loudspeaker. And if you think about it, 6.5 is kind of a standard near field, right? So they're kind of scaling down and doing that. And I myself, I had like a console one. I've had channels from MCI consoles. I've had channels from SSL Violet EQs and stuff. I've had different channel strips in sort of like combinations of 500 format. And I love them, but I can't really get along with the space they occupy versus how I want to move around. So as a composer, my templates have a lot of kind of intricate interaction between sends and retards and different sends as well. These things I couldn't do on a console by definition, because a console in itself would have an EQ and dynamics on it. It's not about effects. So I need the plugins. I need to define how things are working in the sense of my headspace for the composing template, and whether it's a sketch for a soundtrack or whether it's a piece of music somebody commissioned to me, or maybe it's music I want to write. It's very DAW dependent. And this is the 100% software side. And on the other hand, I have this 100% hardware side, in which I have at least five guitar pedals with 2 more that I kind of plug in, like distortion stuff that I sample stuff with, and then I put it back. Then I have my hardware synthesizers, they're patched in. I use my dangerous summing box to go to the other effects that I have, an M3000. I use a lot like Neve preamps for the Moog. I use API for the Prophet 6. I use other stuff and things. So that side is very hardware based. And as you know, I don't know if you've been following my Patreon for all of the talk that we've had on the composing classes, I don't really mix as a separate phase when I compose. If it's a sketch, first and foremost, I kind of do it in a template form, so it's streamlined. But when I get stuff back that I make my music, my albums from, because it's usually music that nobody wanted, that I love, and I probably don't even love it that much, but when they don't commission it and they don't option it for whether it's advertisement or indie games or demos to be pitched to distributors or dev groups for games that want to have some music behind, some ideas and brainstorming that they've had for a title. When they don't get it, when people say like, well, this would be nice, but it doesn't work, I kind of leave it there, and then I grow fond of it just because it's the underdog that wasn't picked. I don't know, I kind of get this sort of sentimental attitude towards music of mine that doesn't get picked, which is actually a lot of it. So I have a lot of music that I love. That's a good thing. That's a positive side. But the thing is, when I start getting a sketch into a song of mine more, because nobody wanted it and it's free of royalties and whatever, it's not being optioned, I can take it not back. I don't know, it's mine from the get-go, but nobody wanted it. I still put it into a template sort of work environment that really has a lot of interactions with plugins and real hardware, and there's not a dedicated phase for mixing. That's just how I do it, because everybody I know, they kind of finish recording or composing, arranging, then they mix, and then when it's done mixing, they master it or have it mastered by somebody else. So, but if they do it on their own, they still split in phases, which makes perfect sense. You finish recording something, you mix it, you finish mixing something, you master it. Or you give it to somebody else to master. That would be my advice, at least if you mix it yourself. But I don't do it that way. When I compose, I kind of stop and go to a track that I hear could have a little bit more, presence. I kind of fix it, EQ it, and it's building in itself. The day after, if I open it back and there's something that doesn't work, I don't do a mixing phase on it. I go find what I don't like and I just edit it. So it's always a kind of a fluid thing going on, So what we're going to do in the streams, which I'm going to repeat, it's going to be Fridays at 6 p.m. Then we're going to see if we want to switch it to 9 p.m. Central European time. That's exactly what we're going to do. I have no idea what we're going to do. We could explore synthesizers, talk about new stuff. Recently, the things that I've been doing are, except for courses that I've been, writing, as I said, I'm working on my new album. So this is all music that nobody wanted, that I'm making my music from, which is still my music. It started out that way. So that's a piece of news that I'm just throwing at you. The Fuse Room website is being remade. That's a huge piece of news as well. It's being remade in a very cool style. You're going to see that. So it's under construction. Hopefully by end of the month, I'm going to have the new website. And what else? Important courses that are coming out in master classes on Group 3, the Massenburg Design Works masterclass is already available there. And I've discussed and explained the two amazing George Massenburg plugins, which are the EQ3 and the DRC2. Now, these two plugins, if you haven't checked them, they're not inexpensive, Massenburg level quality, but they are amazing, and I've used them for a very long time. I think it's been probably in my template for, by the time DRC2 came out, I probably had it. So the EQ6 is just a normal minimum phase EQ, very versatile, very, clean, absolutely 100% clean, but very workhorse oriented. And the DRC2 is just a unique compressor. If you know the compressor that the Massenburg Labs makes, it's just taken from there with a little bit more flexibility. So the Group 3 has it. And then the other thing I've been working on for the past 2 months or a month and a half is the new series or season, as I call it, of Universal Audio plugins. So the masterclass is done and it's being sent for editing, but I'm done recording it. There's 2 more episodes as well in there. It was gonna be 8, but it's actually 10 plugins that Universal Audio released for their Spark series, for their Spark, environment, native. You don't need Apollo stuff. You don't need DSP and hardware units. You can load it up in VST, AAX, all that jazz. And in that series, there's also the newest, these are very new, Helios 69, which is an old plugin that they brought back up into the Spark environment, and the Manly Varimu. So these are very new, and I managed to drop them into last second because they came out while I was recording the other stuff. And this is a full masterclass. This is gonna be available again as it was before. If you haven't checked that out, there's a series that is already out, and it's gonna be on puremix.net and on groove3.com. So Groove 3 and Pure Mix are kind of collaborating together to have me on both platforms. I am the only face that is present currently on both sites as a mentor there. So that's nice. I'm super honored. And I've been working with Pure Mix since 2011. So it's now 13 years. Wow. Awesome. I don't edit video for them anymore, but I've been doing tons of it in the old years. Blast, fab, meeting all the people in the team. Just fantastic. They're now I am family to them, unfortunately for them, but they're family to me. We've been building this work-life relationship for now 13 years. And Groove 3 is actually more recent because it's actually started on 2023, so it's a year and something. But Groove 3 is Hal Leonard. And Hal Leonard to me is, or Hal Leonard, whatever you want to call it, Hal Leonard probably, is the, along with Berkeley Press, is the company that has made the most books. Apart from, there's also Abersold. Okay, well, it's three. So it's one of the three editors and publishers that have made the music books that I've been studying a lot and getting my butt kicked on. Musicians Institute, Berkeley, on my own, different teachers and stuff. These have been always Hal Leonard, Berkeley Press, or Abersold Music, which I don't remember Abersold, what kind of editor, publisher they have. It's Abersold Music, right? The publishing on their own? I don't remember. So being part of Group 3 after all the videos that I've been watching when I was much younger than I am now feels insanely cool because I'm giving back to the people that made content that I learned on. So it's really, really cool. So there's going to be that. There's going to be talk. If you want to discuss hardware units, if you want to discuss plugins, we're going to check that out. I have different cameras that we can use, as you know, because you've been watching my videos. And what else? So I've told you about the record. I've told you about the website. I've told you about the Pure Mix and Group 3 content that is coming out. If you are a patron of mine, you can actually get the videos because you're a member of the Patreon, and again you get the discounts anyway no matter what rank you have, so that's really nice. And there was more though. Oh, of course, if you don't know it, lately there's some videos about the last synth that I've added is the Bass Station 2 by Novation, and I have been loving that thing to death. It's so good. It's the Bass Station 2 is such a thing. It's for how small it is, it's actually an amazing controller. I should go get it. It's right there. And but I made two videos, the unboxing and I made the actual deep dive. I still haven't done the EFX. I know I have, maybe you're watching this. There's two students of mine who've been studying privately with me who wanted to know about the EFX functions because they have a Bass Station 2 but they hadn't explored it. It's huge. That Bass Station 2 does so much, right? I am waiting on a Peak by Innovation because it's just a godsend. It's like one of my favorite synthesizers in the new era is the Peak, and so it's gonna happen soon. Analog Heat plus effects. We're moving to Electron land. I wanted a Digitone and Digitact, but I haven't added them just because I haven't done it yet. But I have the extreme luck to be an artist for Electron, so you know I have perks. Still buy all my stuff. Still buy all my stuff. Don't think I get stuff for free because I'm not that famous. But the people at Electron are amazing. They're super kind, and I've been playing with way too much stuff that they make. I wanted to add a Digitone and a Digitact to my layout, but then I had to write tons of sketches in a very short time, and I just didn't do it. I didn't go pick them up. They asked me if I wanted to have them, but you know, I wanted to make videos on it. I had no time, so hey Patrick, how you doing, man? I hear gas all the way. Right on. You dropped in the stream. We're just talking about getting stuff. Obviously, because why not? I mean, no, you shouldn't just get stuff, but that's things that are in planning. So when I was at Superbooth 2023 last year, it's already an year almost that thing happened. I tried the Analog Heat Plus effects, and I guarantee you that thing was to me, I mean, you might think different, but it's so good. It is so good. They had a very nice setup at Electron because if you've watched the video, I have it. If you're a patron of mine, there's a super booth video that I've been shooting for 2 days. So there's day 1 and 2. And there's, I think on day 2, I stopped by Electron and filmed it. And they had a couple drum machines, like I think a 606 probably, and And another one I forgot. If you watch the video, that I'm not super well versed on the old drum machine stuff, but they had I think they had analysis HR, something like that. Drum machines that were put there for a reason, because they were old, good stuff at the source, but they don't have a lot of I don't want to say resonance in the sense of a sound synthesis thing. They don't have they just have raw sounds, and they need some room to kind of speak, but they have very excellent. They have fantastic samples, but they're just very dry and limited. They expect something else to happen after them, like production things. If you take new drum machines today or other stuff, it's just insanely complicated sometimes, but they have built-in effects, they have different matrices or modulation parameters, and they can be complicated. But what they did at Electron, they put a very simple old good drum machine with nothing else, and then they had the analog hit plus effects. And I guarantee you that the level of using the analog hit plus effects as an instrument is just insane. It speaks to me as kind of the extension of whatever you drop into. And up to a certain point, you can get very stupid inputs, like basic waveforms and stuff, and that thing will take it to a complete different level. Insane. I guarantee you, the analog hit plus effect, like if I had a normal analog hit, I would have probably sold it by now to get the plus effects, because it's a leap forward. The analog hit I really loved, but I kind of just didn't jump on it to say, like, oh, well, that's really good, but not for me. With the analog hit plus effects, the level of mangling is constructive in a way. It built sounds that I could see and hear. They would be the foundation of an idea for a song right off the bat, without using presets, without using anything else. It was just really, really good, unbelievably good. I love that. The Digitact and Digitone, they would be kind of harder for me to, they can be used in the DAW, but I use very weird configurations for drum sounds and drum samples, and so far the DAWs have been my work environment. So I don't know how I'm gonna integrate something like a Digitact into my ecosystem. See you, Daniela. Thank you for dropping by. Ciao, ciao. And so I'm not sure, it's fantastic for composing and doing stuff, but I don't think that I would be able to integrate it the same way. Maybe I will, but right off the bat, there will be a learning curve. There's no winging something like a Digitact. If you use it and put it into your system, into your bloodstream, it has to be effectively there. So we'll see. But the analog hit plus effects, my gosh, by all means, absolutely. For some time, I had even thought about a summit instead of a peak. I also like the fact that I would have keys to use, but I gotta be honest with you, the peak is in my ecosystem, a peak is enough. The summit is 2 peaks in one. It's insane. You can link the 2 peaks, the 2 engines, so that they build the same sound. By editing one thing, you get 2 in sync, and then you remove the sync and just ever so slightly drift off the source that you've dialed in on the second engine, and it's the same thing you programmed, but it's so much deeper. It's just beautiful. The summit is really amazing, and at the core of a summit is really, to me, the peak. And it has a very specific sound. I know some of you don't like it. James not here. James didn't like the peak when he tried it. It's more of an Oberheim thing. So, okay, that's okay. The other thing I've added and that I've been using for a lot of time, and it's just set there, is the Freq tube, which is actually right here. Whoops. Now, the bantams are also in the way. The Freq tube has been something that I tried out of. Look at the bantams here. The Freq tube is something that I have been sort of messing with for a little bit, but I haven't thought about integrating it at first. And then I thought, well, it actually sounds really good. So this one also started during Superbooth. I saw it, I tried it out, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. So I could try it as a way to record things in, which is what I've done. I have it set so that I can pass through things and they're in an aux, and when it's set to just maybe distort the tubes and get a little bit more vibe, I track things through. Even distortion pedals I still put through the FRAC tube sometimes because the two things kind of interact together. But I gotta be honest with you, the level of mix bus touch that the FRAC tube gives, it's kind of scary because I have a lot of analog gear compared to not having it. There's people I know that have tons more, but I still believe I have quite a lot of analog gear. And to think that you can get a very beautiful 3D sounding soundstage through the FRAC tube in a couple presets I've made, and then you can always